that developed in the year 19 or in the constitutional history of Buganda and Uganda at large, we see it or we trace it from the year 1952 to the year 1954, and that is what we see or what we call the Kabaka crisis. So the Kabaka crisis did not just begin by far, my friend. It had causes, reasons as to why it developed. First of all, we see that in the year 1952, Uganda a new governor was introduced or brought into the protectorate, and that was Sir Andrew Cohen. So Andrew Cohen, on coming, he promised a lot of things to be done in Uganda. First of all, he said that he's going to increase the representation of Africans in the Legislative Council. Remember, the Legislative Council was like the parliament by then. And we see that up to that year, there was no African to represent Africans' interest in the Legislative Council. The only effort that was done was the introduction of who we call the Asians in 1926, when they appointed their new legislative member in the Legiko, that is Chinu Jetabai Amin. So we abafirika tetwainamu atuchikirira oba achikirira interests zaffe mu parliament eyo. So Cohen wajja atugamba ntino, I'm going to see that African representation that a lot of again were promised. So now we see a conflict between Cohen and Kabaka Mutesa the first. We call him the first because he was still ruling. He had not gone into exile yet. So the problem arises. One, Cohen said that says that out of the 89 members of the Luchiko, remember the Luchiko was like the parliament of Buganda by then. Remember, Kabaka yali alina obuyinza okulonda anaatula mu Luchiko oba ayisaawo anaatula mu Luchiko olwa Buganda. But now we see that Cohen na Javayaga, no, out of the 89 members abalina otula mu Luchiko, 60% must be elected. The other point he puts out is that the Kabaka had to consult the Luchiko before he does anything. Remember, Fewanu Kabaka, we used to take him as the Sabataka, Nyinigwanga, Chuchu Magulu Nyondo, Ngayasalawe Chenkomerede. Ne wano batulaga ntino nga tonnakola kintu gwe Kabaka, you have to appoint or you have to consult from the members of the Luchiko. It's like this man now had begun taking over or taking away the powers of the Kabaka, which Mutesa was not willing to accept. Are we together? So we see the other aspect is that Cohen just ngokunyiza Kabaka. He said that we are trying to see that we unify East Africa, that is Buganda, Uganda, and other parts in Uganda with East Africa. Kabaka had this to say, my friend, you should leave the affairs of Buganda to be governed by Buganda alone. So ye nanyiga nagamba ebye Buganda mubireke bigaverningibwani Buganda, basically the Kabaka. So we see that this one annoyed the Kabaka. So we see that the other issue is that Buganda ituka mu legislature. Remember, we are now forming the Legislative Council or the legislature, and we have to send the members to represent our interests. Buganda refusing to send representatives, Buganda refusing to send names to the Legislative Council, among others. So we see that a conflict or conflicts had to arise or to increase between Buganda and the colonial government, which led to the deportation of the Kabaka, that is in the year 1953. Why was the Kabaka deported? We see it was as a result of Article 6 of the 1900 Buganda Agreement, where they said that Sengo Muntagano gondera the laws of the protectorate or the laws imposed by the British had to come up with sanctions. And we see in the 1920 Order in Council, they had to bring what we call the deportation clause. So the Kabaka was deported under the deportation clause in 1953. So after they deported the Kabaka, Buganda was placed into regents, katubaite ba caretakers. So mukuteka Buganda into caretakers, Abaganda bagamba nedda temuyinza kweyisa nga bakabaka fe Kabaka tumanyi. So we see this led to the filing of the case of Mukwaba and Mukubira, that case of Mukwaba and Mukubira, where these people were challenging the validity of the regents n'abalala abali beteekawo nti no be balina okukola ki okubanga batudde mu ntebe ya Kabaka. So basically that is the 1953 Kabaka crisis, the causes and the effects. Thank you.